Hello and welcome to our virtual Lunch and Learn. Today we are talking about using the Ewon Flexi as a starter IoT gateway. Thank you for joining us a bit earlier today in honor of Inauguration Day here in the United States. This recording will be available on the McNaughton-McKay YouTube channel under the virtual Lunch and Learn playlist for anyone unable to join us live today. My name is Rachel Green, and I'm the Digital Communications Specialist here at McNaughton-McKay Electric Company. And presenting for us today will be Michael McCarty, Integration Engineer out of our Madison Heights, Michigan location. Out in the comment section, ready to answer your questions, are Steve Sperry, Systems Engineer, also out of Madison Heights, and Don Appel, Territory Business Manager for HMS Networks. He's joining us from Cincinnati, Ohio today. We'll also have a Q&A portion at the end for Michael to answer your questions in more depth. Hi, Tom. Hi, Steve. Hi, Don. I see you guys out there. Hi, Andy, Jody, Gary. Thanks for joining us. We'll be getting started shortly. We'd like to allow just a few minutes for attendees to join us. As you come in, continue to let us know where you're joining us from in the comments section. You can view recordings of previous virtual Lunch and Learns on our YouTube channel under the virtual Lunch and Learn playlist. We cover a new topic every Wednesday at noon, so be sure to join us on your lunch break going forward. For anyone just joining, welcome to our virtual Lunch and Learn using the Ewon Flexi as a starter IoT gateway. Let us know where you're joining us from. We'll be looking for questions as you have them in the comments while our presenter, Michael McCarty, discusses the advantages of using the Ewon Flexi as a starter IoT solution, and he will be doing a live demo to show us applications. Our specialist, Steve Sperry, and HMS Networks representative, Don Appel, are ready to respond to your questions in the comments as we go along, and we'll also have a Q&A segment at the end of Michael's presentation. If you'd like to reach out or if you have questions for us and you're watching this as a recording, you can always contact us at the email address on your screen, macandmaclive@nc-mc.com. Michael, it looks like we have a number of attendees with us now, so I'll pass it over to you.
All right, thank you. So hello, everybody. Thanks for joining our virtual Lunch and Learn today. My name is Michael McCarty. I'm an integration engineer here at McNaughton-McKay out of our Madison Heights location. And today we're going to be talking about the Ewon Flexi from HMS as a starter IIoT solution. So some of you may already know about the Flexi or the Cozy as a remote access appliance for remote maintenance and troubleshooting. And while this is a great benefit to have, the Flexi actually adds on several IIoT features to help you pull and visualize data from your controls equipment to a secure cloud infrastructure on demand. So after we cover some of these features in our presentation, we will be doing a live demo to show just how easy it is to set up a set of KPIs to view online, as well as a use case for the Flexi as a gateway to bring data into a more advanced reporting software. And in this case, we'll be using Excel Reporter. So first, let's talk about some of the common challenges that you may experience when you're starting your digital transformation. So the IoT space has received a lot of attention recently with a variety of products and software suites from different suppliers. And these new solutions have helped change how companies want to collect, report, and analyze their production data. In a market research survey, almost 90% of the survey companies believed that IoT is a crucial area for the business's success, and 1/3 of those companies expected to see a return on investment in less than 2 years. Similarly, a Microsoft survey reported that 85% of their company's questions were starting their own IoT adoption, 3/4 of which had projects in the planning stage. And IoT is a great area for OEMs and end users alike. So OEMs can use IoT to build a competitive advantage, and then end users can use these new tools to improve their operations. So some of these benefits for IoT include remote troubleshooting and maintenance. Similarly, having access to a set of key performance indicators and historical machine data remotely means that we can make operations adjustments and make recommendations remotely to reduce some travel. This data can also be used in statistical analysis or even machine learning models for predictive maintenance in efforts to reduce unplanned downtime. So below in this diagram, you see we have an example of a phased approach to a company's digital transformation. So most companies today, we're starting with near-term adoption in phases 1 and 2. This is more focused on getting data out of our machines and trying to increase our operational efficiency. So that includes reduced projected part rates, improved cycle times. And then we start looking at phases 3 and 4 as a more long-term approach. This is where we start talking about systems that will autonomously make decisions to improve our production. And with phases 3 and 4, often this will require some structural, maybe even management changes on how we go about setting up and improving a system in order to effectively implement them. So while IoT is a great opportunity for growth, unfortunately, it does come with some challenges that we have to address in order to have a successful implementation. One major concern that we see is the variety of communication protocols and legacy devices that we have out on the plant floor. Now, it would be awesome if everyone had the latest Allen Bradley PLCs and devices out there on an Ethernet IP network. We know that this isn't the case. Older machines will often use serial communications. We might still have PLCs and controllers out there on DH Plus or remote IO. And in order to get data out of these devices and into an IIoT solution, we need to find methods to get them towards today's standards of communication. And even with today's modern communication, there are different protocols that we often run into. Obviously, on the Rockwell world, we have Ethernet IP. We also have Profinet, Modbus TCP, and those might be mixed in a plant environment. So another obstacle that often comes up are security concerns. So in general, we like to keep our machines off the internet to prevent the possibility of a cyber attack and to keep our data secure. However, this goes against some of the main benefits of having an IIoT solution where all of our machine data and some analytics are available on the cloud. So a good IoT solution should keep as much data local to the machine as possible, and any data that is transmitted over the internet must be done securely. And the IoT space is still relatively new. While there are some great demonstrations and a lot of successful implementations out there, it's still hard to determine exactly what we can get out of a solution. So this undefined return on investment can make it hard to select the ideal solution, especially when we have solutions that range from the $1,000 to $2,000 range to tens and thousands of dollars when you're dealing with a whole IoT platform. And even after we address some of these IIoT obstacles, we still run into some additional integration challenges. So once these projects start, they're not always guaranteed to succeed. In fact, many projects often get stuck in the proof of concept phase. This may be a result of security concerns, communication challenges, some of the topics that we discussed previously, or perhaps just a failure to gain traction and see a clear business value. And without success in these pilot IIoT programs, getting a full adoption into this space can become very difficult. So now that we've seen some of the common pitfalls and challenges when we're dealing with IIoT, let's talk about the Ewon Flexi and see how it can be used as a resolution or maybe avoid some of these issues. So as you mentioned, many of you may know the Flexi or HMS for the remote access capabilities. And while the Flexi is a great solution for remote connectivity into a machine, getting in, maybe looking at a machine's code, doing some troubleshooting there, it's only a small portion of the product's feature set. So I like to think of the Flexi in 3 different categories. First of which is that remote access appliance for getting in and doing some remote troubleshooting. Second, as a local data collection and monitoring device. So grabbing PLC and controller tag data, collecting it, monitoring it, and also visualizing some of that data. And then finally, one other aspect of the Flexi is its links and ability to act as a gateway to push some of this local data out to our services whenever needed. So talking a little bit about hardware on the Flexi, all Flexi models by default do have a 4-port switch that's used to connect to devices. One of those ports is usually dedicated to your WAN connection. Now, if you'd prefer to have a WAN connection over wireless, so either Wi-Fi or even cellular, that is possible with the use of extension cards. And we also have extension cards available that allow you to connect to other maybe legacy devices, including serial devices, USB, even some hardwired I/O. So there's a lot of capability and flexibility that will allow you to connect anything you might need into the system. So the Flexi is built on the Talk2M cloud. So this is HMS's collection of servers around the world. and all of our Flexi devices are connected to this Talk2M network with encryption to keep all of our data secure. And using this Talk2M cloud, we have three different main methods of getting connected to our devices. The first of which is eCatcher. So this is a desktop application that will allow you to connect to your remote LAN in typical VPN connection. So this will allow you to use any of the automation software that's local on your computer with devices on your remote LAN. So think about getting online with a remote controller using Studio 5000, or maybe making some changes to your HMI application. Now, if we only needed to connect to our remote LAN and use web-based applications, another option we have is M2Web. So this is a website, and this would be ideal, again, for web-based applications. Maybe you just want to view some of the data that has been collected in the Flexi, view some key performance indicators, maybe a factory talk viewpoint application. Now, if you'd like to use your mobile device, there is a mobile app available called M2Web, and that is available on iOS and Android. So now let's discuss the Flexi's ability to collect and monitor data. So this is done through a wide set of I/O drivers that you configure inside the Flexi's web configuration. So this will allow you to set up a communication path to your controller. And after we have that communication path established, we can add a set of tags or variables into the Flexi's tag database, and then obviously link it to the controller. So by default, we're grabbing real-time data for those controllers. The default rate of communication, I believe, is 2,000 milliseconds. So we're grabbing data once every 2 seconds. However, that can be changed to a user-defined amount of time. And then we also have options with that data to enable logging, alarming, and key performance indicators. So with logging, this will keep timestamp data of our selected tags. And then we can use this to maybe view trends over time, maybe check or catch some changes in machine production before they become critical. In total, we can store up to 1 million data points in the Flexi. Once we reach this limit, the oldest timestamp data will be automatically overwritten. And in a similar process to enabling this historical logging, we also have a feature to enable 6 tags as key performance indicators. We'll touch on this in a little more detail in just a minute, but this checkbox makes it very easy for the selected tags to be viewed using M2Web. One thing to remember when we're talking about the Flexi's local data features is that all of the data is stored on-premise inside the Flexi. It's not stored anywhere out on the cloud. So if you ever need to grab data over the cloud, that data is then requested and sent over an encrypted connection. And a great plus for the Flexi in this area is also just the ease of use in configuring I/O drivers and its flexibility in the types of drivers that are supported. And then once these tags are configured in the Flexi, enabling some of these additional features, which we're going to touch on, only takes a few clicks. So once we have our tags added into the Flexi, we can set up 2 different types of logging for them, which are real-time logging and historical logging. So real-time logging, this is more ideal for short-term changes. It's not meant for something to be permanently logged. Think about tags in the seconds range. I believe by default, real-time logging updates the tag once a second for a maximum of 600 seconds. This data is stored in RAM, so if you were to cycle power on the device or lose power, this data would be lost. Now, if we want data that we can retain and use in the future, we can enable historical logging. And this is historical logging is timestamp data that is logged either off of a period of time or off of a change of value, which they call a deadband. This data is stored in non-volatile memory, so it's not lost when you cycle power or were to lose power. And with historical logging, we can actually push values out using a Talk2M service called the data mailbox. So this service makes it easy for external applications to request and receive this data. It uses HTTPS, which is similar to how your web browsers grab data. That is a secure encrypted connection as well. And for the purposes of this lunch and learn, we'll actually be using Excel Reporter in a couple of minutes with the data mailbox to create a few reports. Another great feature that we can enable inside the Flexi is alarm notifications. So we can check off a box for each tag for alarm notifications. and we can set high and low limits for those tags, and then have either text messages or email messages be automatically sent out. So this uses Talk to M services again. The nice benefit is that a company SMTP server is not required. So if you don't have one of those set up, you don't have to work with your local IT team to get anything set up there. You can use Ewon's free Talk to M relay to bounce your emails off of and get them out where you need. So now that we have all this data inside our Flexi, it'd also be nice if we could visualize some of this. So there are several different ways that we can do it. We're going to touch on a couple of the main ways. So the first of which is using the Flexi's web configuration pages. Now, this might not be ideal for a full implementation and as the main way to view your data. However, for troubleshooting and initial setup, this is good to go. This will allow you to view any of your tag data. We can also view some trends or maybe some historical tables for our data. Obviously, the downside of this is you're inside the web configuration of the Flexi, so you might be exposing some users that might not be needed to some of the configuration of the device. Something could go wrong there. So alternately, one option that we have is Ewon. So this is a free tool offered by HMS. It's a graphical editor for creating HMI-style dashboard pages. So this will allow you to easily create gauges, graphs, and visualize your data, for the Flexi. So Ewon comes with an object library, so you can create donut gauges, key performance indicator graphics. Those are already pre-configured. You just have to add them in and link them back to the tags inside your Flexi. So these dashboards can then be uploaded to the Flexi's web server and accessed online. Now these dashboards are created with HTML5, so they're compatible with both desktop or computers as well as your mobile devices. And if you had some experience with your own web development, maybe you had done some HTML in your past, you can upload your own custom HTML web pages into the Flexi. You can view them similarly to Ewon. So if you had some of that experience prior, you could use it here as well. Now, one great benefit that really makes the Flexi a great starter IOT solution is its easy setup to view 6 key performance indicators online. So we can check one box inside of our tag configuration to enable key performance indicators. And what this does is when we log into our Talk to M account using the M2Web website, these 6 KPIs will automatically be brought up in this kind of dashboard style. So nothing has to be configured. You just have to link in the tags. So this will allow us to take our OEE calculations, maybe a few critical machine characteristics out of the PLC, and then display them to a set of users whenever they want. And again, this can all be configured in 2 to 3 clicks. We don't have to worry about setting up any tag databases, configuring any dashboard displays, anything like that. We just have to enable it and then open up the page. So now let's talk a little bit about the security of Talk to M and the Flexi. So the Talk to M cloud platform actually holds 2 different certifications. The first of which is an ISO 27001 certification. This is an organizational certification that shows that HMS and Talk to M manage their data in a professional and secure way. And then secondly, there is a STAR certification. So this is a cybersecurity certification where a third-party IT firm actually goes out and tries to get into the system, and then that's all audited and recorded. So now that we've seen that the Flexi can be a great option for a starter IoT appliance, as we continue through our IoT journey, we may be looking to add some additional functionality and maybe even some more reporting or analytics on our data. Rather than migrating to a completely new solution and taking the Flexi out, we can keep the Flexi in place and use it as a gateway to our data. So that'll make it easy for these newer applications to gather our machine data in a secure and effective manner. So there are several Talk to M APIs available that will allow us to link our machine data to well-known IoT cloud-based platforms. In this case, think of maybe Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, maybe a Rockwell solution with PTC. This means that the same data that was available local on our Flexi can then be pushed out on demand or on a schedule to a larger solution. And one such API, which we've talked about a little bit, is this Talk to M data mailbox. So this is a service that will allow any third-party application to grab historical tag data from the Flexi over HTTPS. And for other IoT solutions, the Flexi is also capable of running scripts in Java or the basic programming language. So this will allow you to create your own custom scripts to push data out to these applications. Commonly, this is done either using HTTPS or MQTT. And then now let's take a look back at this phase diagram that we looked at a little bit earlier. Using the Flexi as a gateway in this respect, that's starting to push us towards phases 3 and 4. So it can kind of give us a link to the more near-term solutions where we're just trying to grab some data, visualize, and report it. So now we have a secure gateway where we can start looking into some larger scale solutions, some larger analytics to make some decisions on our production on the fly. So here's a little more information for you guys out there. If you'd like to get some more information on the Ewon, the Flexi, and some of its tools, as well as Excel Reporter, which we'll look at a little bit more. We have some QR codes here that you can scan that will link you to those resources. We also have these links down in our video description, so if you'd like to view those there, they're available. So that's pretty much it for our presentation section of this Lunch and Learn. We do have a couple of demonstrations set up for you guys. So first, we're going to show you just how easy it is to set up a couple of tags inside the Flexi, enable those as key performance indicators, and then show you the dashboard in M2 Web. We'll also be showing you an example of a view on dashboard to visualize more of your data. And then we'll be showing how these KPIs and some additional data can then be pushed to a cloud-based or remote application securely. In this case, we'll be using Excel Reporter and the Talk to M data mailbox to create a report. So I already have logged in to M2 Web. So this is m2web.talk2m.com. So this is the website that will allow you to log into your Flexi. Now, when you first come to this page, it will ask you for your Talk to M credentials. I've already gone ahead and logged in. That's why we haven't gone to that page. And then we'll see, a list of our Flexi or Cozy devices here that we can view. So we have one set up for this Talk to M account. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and set up some tags for key performance indicators. So we can get into the web configuration by clicking down here. Looks like I got logged out because I was timed out here. 1 second. So this is the Flexi's main web configuration page. So first, let's take a look at the link into our PLC. So this Flexi is actually connected to a compact logics processor in our demo room. So to take a look at that connection, we can go to IO servers here on the left, and then AB Logics, because it is a compact logics controller. And if we take a look, we have a device address. Now this is based it's similar to like a SIP message format if you've ever worked in Logix on one of those. So we have the IP address of the controller, -1 to go to the backplane of the controller, -0 for the Ethernet port on that controller. You can see we have a poll rate here of 2,500 milliseconds. So that means that we'll be grabbing our data from the controller once every 2.5 seconds. So now we can take a look at some of our tag values. So that's done just by going over here to tags and then values. And you can see that we already have a couple of tags here created. So to show you guys how we can create some of these tags, I'm actually going to be walking through and creating one. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go into the setup mode, and then we can click add up at the top. So this tag that we're going to add is going to be our overall machine status bit. So we're going to give it a name. We're going to call it machine status. We can give it a tag description if we'd like. And then this IO server setup, this is where we're actually going to link it to our PLC tag. So we're going to select our IO driver, which in this case is AB Logics. And then the address is the tag name in the controller. So this is a controller scope tag, so all we have to do is type in the tag name. If it was a program scope tag, you can see right here kind of the format on, or the syntax on how we would do that. So this tag is called overall STS. Now we can specify what type of data point it is. Usually I'll allow the Flexi to select that for me. It just makes it a little bit easier. So I'll select automatic here. And you can see while we're adding this tag, we do have a couple of different options here. So for alarm setup, this would be where he could enable alarm high limits and low limits, and maybe some descriptions along with that alarm. Now configuring who those alarms get sent out to, either through a text message or an email, is configured in a different spot. But this is kind of where it's configured on a tag by tag basis. In this case, we're just going to leave it unchecked. Now you see that we have a couple of different logging options. So we'll take a look at historical logging real quick. So we have two different options for historical logging. We have a logging deadband, which when it's set to -1, basically disables this logging deadband. But if I was to set it to 1, that would basically signify whenever the value is changed by at least an integer. So maybe from 0 to 1 or 50 to 51. That would then log a point and timestamp it in our historical log. Alternately, we could do a logging interval. So this is a time in seconds. If it's set to 0, it's disabled. So we're not going to do any logging for this tag. But yeah. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to take a look at key performance indicators right down at the bottom. So if we enable this tag, this will be marked as one of the 6 key performance indicators that allow us to easily view it in M2Web. So we're going to do that for this tag, and then we can click Add Tag here. So now you'll see that it's been successfully created. If we go down to the bottom here, we'll see our tag. We actually have a checkbox. So if we go up to the top, you can see that this is for our key performance indicators. Similarly, for some tags, we might have alarming enabled. We might have historical logging, which we actually do for several of these tags, or real-time logging. So now we're going to go in and we're going to add a couple more tags, and we're going to enable those as key performance indicators. So first of all, we're going to do total part count. So we can highlight the tag and then click edit up here at the top. And then similarly, like the other tag, we're going to scroll down here and we're going to enable key performance indicators. We're going to do that for a couple more tags here. So next we're going to do good parts. Again, click edit up at the top and scroll down, enable key performance indicators. And we'll do this for performance. Now you'll see for some of these tags where we have enabled historical logging, we have these set up at a logging interval of 60 seconds. So once a minute, we'll grab this tag and then we'll create a timestamp log of it. We'll do availability. And then finally, we'll do our OEE calculation. Again, just coming up here, click edit, scroll down to key performance indicators, and we'll enable it. So we do have 6 key performance indicators selected here. Just to show that there is a limit of 6, we'll try and add average cycle time in here as well. So if we were to go in and try and enable key performance indicators, you'll see that this option is grayed out. It lets us know that a max number of 6 has already been selected. So we'd have to unselect one and then select this one if we wanted to use it. So now the last step to enabling key performance indicators is to come up to Setup, Main, and then Data Management. And then you see this Live Data and KPIs checkbox. We just need to enable this checkbox, and that'll allow it to visualize in the M2Web portal for us very easily. Now, another thing that you see here is we've enabled historical data, which allows us to add any of that historical logging into the data mailbox service. And then we've set up an upload interval to the data mailbox to be once a minute, so that we're grabbing our historical log data and making it available to the data mailbox there. So we didn't change anything here, but we'll click update anyway. So that means all of our KPIs have now been set up. So if we were to go over to our summary tab here, you can see that our KPIs fill in here. So we can get our data here. And now if we were to go back to our M2Web website, it might take a refresh here. So let's do that now. And now we can see that our KPIs are automatically brought in. So there's no configuration on making this website look how it does. That's all done for you, which makes it very easy. And you can see that this is live data. So we do have a cycle time of about 10 seconds in this application. So once we see that, our total part count and most likely our good part count will bounce up here. So we should see it change here in just a second. Yep. So if you just need to view some simple data, maybe only a couple of data points, you could create a couple of different accounts and talk to them that will allow different users to view this data very easily. Now, if you needed anything more than those 6 data points, we would have to look at some other solutions, one of which would be Ewon. So that's that HMI style graphics editor that will allow you to create HTML-based pages for the Flexi. So we're actually going to show that to you guys as well. So that's set up on a different Talk to M account here. So I'm going to go ahead and log out and log back into a new account. And we have a different Flexi here that's enabled with Ewon. So instead of going to the web configuration page, we've had this set up so that it goes to our Ewon dashboard. Again, this is protected with the username and password. If you'd like, that option can be disabled. So this is an example of something that we can create with Ewon. Again, so we have a nice animated dashboard. We do have real-time data coming in. And then a lot of these graphics and object libraries are automatically created. So we don't have to do much of this editing, obviously a little bit in linking to our tags, but a lot of this has already been created. So this makes it very easy to create some nice looking animated dashboards. You could even do some remote control. Obviously that might not be recommended in some applications, but just a very good application that will allow you to get a look into your data remotely from anywhere. So this would be ideal, again, if you wanted something a little more custom than that M2M web page, or maybe you needed a little more than 6 data points, but you still wanted something available on the web. So now we're going to take a look at Excel Reporter. So Excel Reporter is a Rockwell and Compass Partners product from SciTech that will allow you to create Excel-style reports based on or with your PLCs as data sources. So there is actually also a data source, which is the Ewon data mailbox. So that can be configured very easily. We're going to show you how to do that. So we're going to open up Excel Reporter here. And basically, we're just going to walk through starting up a project and adding in the data mailbox as a data source. We're not going to go through and create any reports. It's kind of out of the scope of this demonstration. But stay tuned for some upcoming Mac and Mac Live virtual lunch and learns. We are going to be having a virtual lunch and learn coming up soon that dives a little deeper into Excel Reporter. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to create a new project. And then we'll give this project a name. We'll just call it VLL for virtual lunch and learn. And then now it's going to ask us to configure our connectors or our data sources. So we're going to go ahead and add one. And if we go down to HMS, we can go to our Ewon data mailbox. So let's go ahead and add this in here. We can give our connector a name, so we'll call it Ewon data. And now it's looking for our Talk to M account credentials. So I'm going to enter those in real quick here. And then we can click on status. That's basically just going to confirm that our credentials are good and that we can access the data. So you can see we were requesting a status. Green means good, and then obviously status complete. So that means we have $100 credentials in properly. We can make a connection out there. So next, we can take a look at our mailbox to storage schedule. So we can set up a schedule within Excel Reporter to request data from the data mailbox on an interval if we'd like. In this case, by default, we have it set up to grab data from the data mailbox once every hour and then store it on a local database here for Excel Reporter. Now we could change this to be something in the minutes range, something in the days range if we'd like. For now, we're just going to leave it as is. So one other thing we have to do is we have to register our Ewon. So we can have multiple different Flexi devices underneath one Talk to M account. So in this case, we only had one, so we'll only see one Flexi device populate here, but we could have multiple Flexi devices here. In that case, we'd have to select one and bring it over. We're all good here. Next, we need to have defined a space to store any of the data that we grab from the Flexi local on this system. So that's done over here in the storage tab. This could be done either using a SQL database, or in our case, for this demo, Excel Reporter does give you a Microsoft Access file where you can dump some of this data. So we're going to go ahead and use that. So you can click Browse, and then we'll use this XLR database, which is automatically created for us when we create our project. And then we'll go ahead and test our connection to make sure everything's okay here. And we have our connection succeeded. And now we will go back to Mailbox here. So now we have all of our connection set up. We have where we're going to store the data set up. So now all we have to do is either schedule this or sync our data mailbox. So what we can do is we can hit sync mailbox. The first of which is, this is the first time we're creating the database. So it's actually creating the templates and files that we need inside of that Microsoft Access file. And now we can sync it with storage. So all we have to do is come up here and sync with storage and click start. So this will go out, make a connection to the Flexi, request data from the data mailbox. And you can see that we are grabbing data from all of those tags that we had enabled for historical logging. And once that's done, we're all good. We can close this out. And now we can take a look at our storage. So you'll see here that these are the most recent data mailbox values that we grabbed for those tags. So we have timestamp, tag name, as well as value. And we can also go into our historical values tab, and we can take a look at, maybe OEE, and you can see that we do have some historical values populating. So now that we have all these values here, we can use them within Excel Reporter to make some reports. Again, creating a report is kind of out of the scope of this demonstration, but just to give everybody an example of some of the things that you can create using Excel Reporter, we do have this Excel sheet that we've created for you guys. So this is an OEE dashboard. This is actually using a template with Excel Reporter. So all of the formatting, the tables, and the graphs were already created in a nice template. So all we had to do was link it to some of our tag values. This made it very easy to set up. Creating a report like this doesn't take very long. And obviously, there's a lot of scalability with a solution like this. Grabbing more data from our Flexi, maybe from different machines or different controllers, that could make it, a pretty nice IOT solution for you guys. So with that being said, that's concluding our demonstration and our presentation here. So thank you everybody for attending the virtual lunch and learn. I hope you guys learned something, and if you have any questions, feel free to throw them down in the chat right now. We'll take a couple minutes here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michael. We don't have any questions at this time, but like you said, we'll give just a few minutes here for anyone that does have follow-up questions for you. Don and Steve have done a really great job of providing information in the comment section as we've gone through. While we wait to see if anyone has any follow-up questions, I'd like to reiterate that you can reach out to us even after this live stream has ended if you're watching it as a recording at the email address there on the screen, macandmaclive@mc-mc.com. We'll make sure that your question is passed along to Michael, who can respond to you directly. Just be sure to let us know the name of this session in your email if you do reach out. All right, it looks like we do not have any follow-up questions at this time, so I'd like to thank all of our viewers for joining us this morning. Thank you, Michael, for a great presentation, and thanks again to Steve and Don for being our resources in the comment section. We hope the session was informative and engaging for you. Remember to subscribe to the McNaughton-McKay YouTube channel for more industry content, and we look forward to seeing you live again soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.